Welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I'm your host, Jeannie Hall, and I'm a creative inspiration coach who helps writers reignite their creative sparks. This podcast is here to help you knock down any barriers that stand between you and your dreams. You can do it. Join me. Hello and welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. This is episode 42, Future Gazing. So how do you want your life to look in the future? How do you want to feel on a daily basis? The reason I ask these questions is these are important questions to know how to answer. Because the more focused you are on your future and what you want, and how, even more importantly, less what you want, because sometimes that can come from a place of lack and scarcity and make you feel more negative than positive. But if you focus on the feeling of already having it, already having all those things that you want, and coming from that place, then it's much easier for God and the universe to supply them to you. That's one of the basic tenets of the law of attraction. It's a mirror effect. The more you feel good and the more you feel abundant and the more you feel happy and fulfilled and satisfied and all those good emotions, the more of that is going to come to you automatically. And the more you feel that way, the easier and the quicker it will come to you as well. So let me share an amazing technique that I learned from one of my favorite life coaches, Brooke Castillo. I talk about her often. Her podcast is absolutely fabulous. So if you have not listened to that, check out the link in the show notes, because thelifecoachschool.com and her podcast, the Life Coach School podcast, are well worth the listen, especially if you're into spirituality, law of attraction, personal development stuff, and even more especially if you want to be a life coach or a coach of some kind. Definitely check that out. So she talked the other day on one of her podcasts, she talked about how skinny people who have no problem with their weight whatsoever, they tend to look at their food before they eat it and imagine how they will feel once they finish that food. That is another example of what we call future gazing. And as a former obese person, I can admit that I pretty much never did that. Not ever when I looked at my food, especially when I became heavy. All I would be thinking about when I was looking at food was how good it would taste or how much I thought I wanted it, even if I didn't. But I never thought about how it would actually feel physically in my body. That is not something I ever did. So before I would gorge myself on a half gallon of ice cream or a whole bunch of fried chicken or huge bowl or two of pasta or fill in the blank, whatever food it might be, I would never consider what it would do to me. Even though there were a lot of times that there were negative consequences. And then, frequently, I would feel disgusting and disgusted with myself afterward. All that food. I would feel bloated and heavy and just blech. And many times I would experience horrible acid reflux and heartburn because of how much I ate and because of when I ate it. And worst of all, my weight ballooned up to 233 pounds on my 5'7" frame. So health-wise, I became hypertensive, which means I had high blood pressure, and I became a diabetic. in my 40s. You know, you think of a lot of this kind of stuff happening to people when they hit 60 or later. No, this happened to me in my 40s. And unfortunately, that's not all that an uncommon experience either. So that would be one example of changing your perspective toward the future or future gazing. In this case, in the very near future. So let's say that let's say you went out to eat and you have a weight issue. And you're going out to eat with friends or with a loved one, and you're looking at the menu options. It's really important to, especially if you've been to that restaurant before and you know how big the servings are going to be, to kind of plan ahead and think, if I eat all this food, if I eat an appetizer and I eat all this food, and then I have dessert afterwards and I have some drinks and I have this, that, or the other, how am I going to feel? Because I know, especially when I was like in a celebratory mood and we were going out to some special thing, like I love seafood, so maybe we were going to Red Lobster or something like that. And for me, you know, we have always gotten appetizers and then this huge platter of food. There'd be a salad with it before the platter of food came out. And then a lot of the time we would have dessert. We might have a mixed drink or something with that. I mean, the amount of food and calories and sugar and cholesterol and all the stuff was, I mean, it was just incredible what I was putting away in one meal. So when you know and there's nothing wrong with having any of that food, no matter what it is. There really isn't. The thing to do, though, is to know what your limits are, to when it's going to feel bad for you, when that good feeling and that fuel that food actually is starts to become a negative thing for you. When is that food, that fuel, and that enjoyment of taste and everything going to result in bloating and feeling gross and misery, right? And you do know when that's going to happen if you're overweight and you've dealt with this before. Just remember that and think about that before you take that first bite. Okay, what's this going to do to me? And then you're much less likely to overeat. And you can still have all the foods that you love. You can still go out. You don't have to stick to a point system or a calorie system or, oh, I can only have this food or that food, because that's never going to work for most of us. Maybe you can do it. I couldn't. But if you just stick to, okay, I'm going to pay attention as I'm eating. I'm going to enjoy what I'm eating. But as soon as I start to get full, I'm going to stop. And then if you do that and you get in the habit of doing that and you pay attention to how your body feels, suddenly that's not going to be a problem for you anymore. And losing weight isn't going to be a problem for you anymore. And being healthy and feeling good is not going to be a problem for you anymore. It's amazing how that works. And another thing about future gazing, imagining how something will make you feel does not have to be negative. It doesn't have to be about how bad you'll feel if you're overeating, for example. What I love to focus on is where I'll be in the future. It might be the near future or a little bit more distant. So maybe I'll imagine where I'll be in 5 months, or where I'll be in 1 year, or where I'll be in 5 years. And I picture, every time I do that, I always make sure that whatever I'm picturing is this wonderful outcome of all my efforts are producing and how they'll benefit me in the future. For example, within just the very past few months, very recently, I have started a new Facebook page, Writing in Your Jammies, in case you're interested, a new blog, writinginyourjammies.com. I've started this podcast within just the last few months, Writing in Your Jammies podcast, a newsletter, that you can sign up for at writinginyourjammies.com, and a YouTube channel that's under my name, Jeannie Hall. Now, all of these things are very recent acquisitions, basically. So because of, and my intention in getting all these things started is to get into contact more with who I feel is my audience. Basically, the people that I can help in the future. The people I can help make a difference with. So even though right now my subscriber numbers are quite low, I know with time and effort and learning the right strategies, I can reach those who need what I have to offer. And for those of you who are writers, or who are coaches, or who are people trying to build your own businesses, you might be in the same boat I am. You may have something amazing to offer to others, but you're not quite sure how to reach those others, how to get to them. And you also don't want to be all salesy or spammy or creepy. You don't want to be one of those people that other people on social media feel like they have to block, right? We all hate that. We hate getting on Facebook and being added to a group without our permission, or we hate liking someone's page and within an hour of us liking the page, they're sending us a link to buy their book or buy whatever product it is, or come to my party that's selling this or whatever. It's tactless, basically. Nobody likes that. Everybody wants to feel connected to each other, but we don't want to feel like we're going to get a sales pitch. And for those of us who are going into kind of a business, even if it's a service-oriented business like I am, one thing that you never want to do is to feel that way. We don't want to feel like we're being creepy. We don't want to feel like we're selling to people. We want to feel like we're helping people instead. So that is one of the big keys to that. And I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast and you're in the group, any of those groups I just mentioned, that you probably feel the same way. Some people actually get nervous and nauseous and hives over the idea of trying to sell to other people. Some people are natural salespeople, and that's probably nobody who's going to be listening to this because you're naturally good at it. I am not naturally good at it personally, so I totally understand that. It is very awkward for me. I have tried to sell, whenever I was first out of college, I tried selling knives door to door, and it was just awful. So I totally understand that feeling. But since I am a big believer in the law of attraction, I also know that things are going to work out for me. I know answers are coming my way. And within just the last few days, this is amazing, I've discovered a wonderful new resource that I believe may hold the key to me getting my business off the ground. Ta-da, right? I asked for it, and the universe provided it. Cool, huh? And the reason it's been provided to me, I know, is because I work on keeping my mind open. I work on keeping my heart open. I work on keeping my spirit receptive to those positive messages that God and the universe are trying to send me all the time. Before I started on this spiritual journey, I was closed off to all of that. And I know it was still coming to me. I just didn't see it. I didn't perceive it, right? I didn't realize that the answers were right in front of me. I couldn't see them. So once I began this spiritual journey and I started to meditate and I started to work on myself and my thoughts and my feelings and really recognize what was coming my way, I started to realize, well, all the answers I've been looking for are right there. Why didn't I see this before? Right? It's amazing what'll happen when you open yourself to the possibilities. And those possibilities are infinite, for real. I have been astounded to see the flood of information, floods, plural, of information and opportunities that have since sped directly to me. And another way I like to future gaze is by lengthening out my visualizations to more distant future times. I like, as I mentioned kind of before, I like to picture where I'll be and what I'll be doing in 5 years. And one thing I'm doing right now, and doing all those things, I started the new blog and podcast and starting a YouTube channel, all those things that I've done in the very recent past have been about taking massive action. And Tony Robbins and Brooke Castillo both refer to this as action that you don't stop taking until you get the result you want. And that is what I'm doing right now. And I'm taking massive action on 2 fronts at once. One, I'm not going to stop losing weight and getting healthier and fitter until I'm off all medication. Currently, I take 5 and weigh no more than 158 pounds. For me, that's a pretty healthy weight. I'm 5'7". Like I said, I've been up as high as 233, and even though I've lost 47 pounds, I want to get that additional weight off. And so I'm definitely working on that continually. The other thing I'm working on, number 2, and taking massive action for, is I'm going to do every strategy I possibly can until my business takes off and until I'm able to leave my day job on my own terms. So I'm not talking about leaving my day job because they fired me. I'm not talking about leaving my day job because I just couldn't take it anymore and I quit. I'm not talking about something from the outside externally changing things so that I no longer have this day job and I end up losing my house and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is being successful enough on my own that I feel so confident and have enough money in the bank, basically, and know that more is coming. Evidence, basically, that I know it's perfectly safe for me to quit my job, to do the right thing, to give the 2 weeks notice, keep doing a good job, just like I always have done with my job, even though I don't always like it very much, and walk out with a smile on my face and with people hugging me on the way out. That's my plan. And I'm taking massive action, continually, action that I will not stop taking until that's the result I get. Now I realize these 2 goals may sound pretty dadgum lofty, right? That is number 1 is a weight loss of an additional 28 pounds. And number 2, the entrepreneurial part, is something I've only ever failed at before. Remember that knife business I talked about? Yeah, I do. Total failure. I also tried to sell insurance door to door. Also total failure. And that was after I had been an insurance office manager at an insurance company. That's after that. I'd even been agent of the year for that company. But when I tried to do it in a different way and as a business person, as a business owner, as like an entrepreneur, just doing it door to door without an office behind me, basically, oh goodness, crash and burn, baby. That's what I did. And it was ugly. It was not pretty. But now I know I have the tools that I need and the support that I need to do it. So I'm going to do it. And if I fail, then I'm going to get back up and I'm going to try again. And if I fail again, I'm going to get back up again. I'm going to try again. That is what massive action is. You don't stop taking action until you get the result that you want. But one really important aspect about the massive action piece is you have to be open to learning. And you also can't beat yourself up. That's the other key. Because if you beat yourself up, you're just going to beat yourself to a pulp and you're just going to quit. That's what I did with those two businesses I failed at. I completely quit before I really ever even got started, pretty much. I had, each time I had a very small number of clients and it didn't go very far. And then I started getting no's and then I stopped immediately in tears, basically both times. And started feeling really crappy about myself and telling myself how stupid and horrible and bad I was at this, and I stopped. That was before I learned the truth about myself, that I am a spiritual being in a human body, and that I have access to all the wisdom in the world and all the love in the world, and that I am made of love and light and stardust. All of us are. But I didn't know that back then. If I had, it might have been a different outcome. So this is the thing. I know I'm going to succeed this time, one way or the other. And another way that I know I'm going to succeed is because of an exercise that I did. My wonderful coach and mentor, Betsy Paik, discussed this wonderful meditation that she does with her clients. And it's basically called a future self meditation. And I did this with her, and oh my goodness, it made such a huge difference in my life. Because basically what you do is you imagine talking to yourself 5 years from now. And I did that. And now I can see myself in 5 years smiling back at me, a total success. She is happy. She is healthy. She is fit. She can wear whatever she wants. She's financially secure. She's free of corporate America and beautifully self-confident. And most importantly, she is fulfilled and radiant with love because she knows the work that she does on a daily basis helps others and makes a huge positive difference in their lives. That's the thing. So knowing that is my future, I can't imagine anything better, right? It could be better. But being able to do that, right? Talk about dreams coming true. Talk about feeling fulfilled and peaceful and happy. That is my personal dream. And most of us have, it may not be the same exact dream, but our dreams, most of us, we know it'll make us really happy and peaceful and fulfilled. That's the whole point, right? So if you've never actually done that, future self meditation with Betsy Paik, check out her website, betsypaik.com, if you haven't yet. I definitely say it'd be worth trying. But in the meantime, I will kind of give you the outline of it. So sometime if you're able to give your full attention, make sure you're not driving or cooking or anything like that. Sit with your eyes closed. Imagine that the you from 5 years from now is coming to have a conversation with you in this moment. You can ask her or him anything you want about what the future holds for you. And when the time comes for you to listen, it's important that you become completely silent. And you're going to listen for the answers. If you're someone who believes in dreams coming true, then the answers should make you smile. Spend as long as you want talking to your future self. Then, when you open your eyes, feel the peace and happiness that comes with knowing that it's already done. It's already happened. For that future you, that's the past. It already happened. Think about how good that feels to know your dreams have already come true. It's already done. You're already financially secure. You're already the weight you want to be. You're already doing whatever it is you want to do in your job or career. You're traveling wherever you want. You're wearing whatever you want. You're in love if you want to be. Anything, everything that you want, it's done. Your future self from 5 years from now has already experienced it. So it's done. Doesn't that feel wonderful? Everything good that you've asked for and concentrated on will be yours within that 5-year time span. I can't imagine anything feeling better. So now as you go out into your daily life, any time that you feel down or doubtful, anytime you feel yourself becoming antsy or losing your nerve, remember what your future self told you. Remember what it was like to go future gazing. And from that blissful place, take your next step. Thanks so much for listening. Have a gorgeous day, week, month, and year. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I appreciate every download and every person who has subscribed. I release new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday, so if you enjoy this content, please consider leaving a review. The more reviews fledgling shows like mine receive, the more visible it becomes on the various podcast stations. Each review helps, so if you enjoy what I've been sharing, please help others find this show by leaving a brief review. Thanks again for listening.